Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Real Talks. I'm your host, Brady Carducci, and today on the show, I have the pleasure of talking with a Toronto-based, multifaceted creative. She's a YouTuber, photographer, producer. She kind of does it all. She's worked with brands such as Adobe. She is the graduate of the RTA School of Media at Ryerson University. Please welcome to the show, Lizzie Peirce. How are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you.
We should do the formal handshake. There you go.
Yes, nice to meet you. I heard Chris ran up
yeah,
your
we did the
arm
whole
like a
squirrel thing. Yeah,
interesting.
It was pretty crazy.
That sounds like Chris.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to sit down with you today, just talk about how you've built your brand, really dive into kind of how you got started in photography and kind of building your whole media empire. So I'm excited.
Sure. Yeah, me too.
Definitely. But I have to start off with, obviously, COVID right now. We're living through a pandemic. So how have you been dealing with that? How have things changed or kind of remain the same for you?
Yeah, I think everyone went through like some ups and downs.
Yeah.
And then we sort of right now have leveled out a little bit. Mm-hmm. A little bit of our normalcy has come back. When everything initially happened, we were evaluating, I think everyone was kind of nervous about their livelihood. You know, how is this going to affect our business, especially we travel so much for work. Mm-hmm. It was hard to say what the impact was going to be. And then slowly but surely, you know, you keep plugging on. We could come to our office, luckily, because it's a private office. Mm-hmm. And so we were fortunate enough to keep working. But then work kind of became our everything because there was nothing else to do.
Yeah.
And so we went from, you know, everyone like initially was just like at home making cocktails and doing nothing. Right,
of course, yeah.
And eating lots of food. Yeah. And then we just went full force into working. And I think I tried to control my whole life. Right. Where I was like, okay, and now I'm going to go on a diet and I'm going to exercise every day and I'm going to work and I'm going to start like 8 new projects.
Right.
And micromanaging everything and then trying to control something in a world where everything was out of control.
Yeah.
And that obviously didn't work either.
No, yeah, it's a lot to...
And so somehow, now we've just leveled out. We haven't really traveled at all yet.
Okay.
But we're starting to talk about planning, you know, some group trips and where we can go that it will be safe and we can quarantine and, you know, when it makes sense to do so. But yeah, we're just taking it day by day right now. But awesome. I think we've adjusted.
Yeah. I think even for myself, like even at first I was like, oh my God, like what's going to happen? Like this is so new. And I was like kind of panicking, but now it's like, you kind of, like anything, like we adapt and you kind of just go in the flow and it just works. Mentally though, like how are you mentally going from obviously like lockdown to all this to now being a little bit more free? Are you a little bit happier now? Like, are you kind of the same? Like, how is it mentally for you going through that?
Yeah, it's a good question. I've always, and I mean, everyone has become more open now with their struggles with mental health, and I am also one of those people. Mm-hmm. So definitely a lot, again, highs and lows. Mm-hmm. Being so isolated from your friends and your family is hard, but also not knowing what the future holds, how long it's going to last, takes a toll and makes it hard to do your work and to be a positive person online and on social media. Mm-hmm. And so trying to be, I tried to be as transparent about that as I could and be forgiving with myself, of course. Of course, yeah. Now it is frustrating because Chris and I, you know, we've mentally adjusted and we're feeling happier now. Mm-hmm. And I've always been in therapy for the last 2 years, so that's something that I would recommend to anyone who is still struggling. But, you know, not being able to travel because that was so ingrained in our lifestyle and being in the same place for... when did this happen? Back in March? Like, has it been 6 months? I don't even know. I think we're
coming up on 6 months.
Yeah, like that hasn't happened for us in years. Like, it's been great because we've pretty much finished decorating our condo. Like, all these little things are done, but we're like, man, I want to get out of here. Yeah. And I'm ready to go.
You feel like kind of like cooped up.
Yeah, and we were okay with, you know, knowing that warmer weather was coming here, and then I try to stick around in Toronto during the summer anyways, but knowing that winter is now coming.
Oh, don't remind me.
We're getting a little scared. We're like, okay, where is it okay to go? Is it okay to travel? And we're really starting to investigate that a little bit more and but of course, like keeping in mind what's safe and realistic. We're not just gonna like on just a whim decide to go wherever. It'll be something we consider. But yeah, we really want to get out of here.
Yeah, I feel you. I'm in the same boat, 100%. So I wanted to start off by just talking a little about your background, because obviously, most people know you from YouTube. You built a strong social following, but who was Lizzie Peirce before kind of YouTube and Instagram? Who were you as a person? What were you into? And how did you step into this whole creative world?
Yeah, that's a good question. I've always been a creative person ever since I was little.
Okay.
But it started more, of course, when everyone's 5, they want to be a singer, they want to be famous or whatever it was. And that is obviously not my goal now at all. And as you grow up, you kind of figure out, okay, what's realistic in terms of my lifestyle?
Of course.
What am I going to enjoy doing? And originally I thought that was going to be music. And I play cello, I play piano, I sing, and so originally I thought I was going to go to university and
for music,
for cello.
Okay.
And in that last year of high school, my mom actually brought up the RTA school media, and she said, I think this might really suit you. I always loved TV, I always loved movies, and I was like, you know what, that sounds good.
Yeah.
Because I was taking like a media production course, and I'd always been interested in photography, and I was like, I think this actually might be the right fit. And I really enjoyed video editing for little projects at school. Again, was not good.
Yeah, but you were still showing interest.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's all you really need to do when you're that young. I didn't know exactly what job I wanted. No one knows. Yeah. And it's just, taking all those little things that I think I like this, and that sounds good. And I think I could find something in that field that I enjoy that will, provide a good life for me.
Of course.
YouTube, not on the radar
not
at all.
Even in the,
Yeah, not even close. And so went to university, and I sort of realized, okay, I like photography, I like shooting video, love editing, and I think I'm a really strong producer, director, writer. That's where I felt.
Your strength.
That's my strength. Okay. And so I focused on that once I was freelancing in video and photo, and that was kind of after working my restaurant job during university, that was how I was making money.
Okay.
And after graduating, I looked for a full-time job. And then I started as a production coordinator for a Toronto production company. They specialized in corporate video.
Okay.
And so by the time I left, I was a junior producer. And that's when I realized pretty quickly in that job that wasn't working for me, mainly because I've been pretty open about the fact that my boss drove me nuts.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I really liked the work, and Chris was still freelancing, and we thought, what we really want to do is run our own business, so why aren't we doing that?
Exactly.
We're young, what are we going to do this in our mid-30s when a lot more is on the line?
Exactly.
No, we should do it
more
right now.
Responsibilities too as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I quit that job. Actually, funny story, I got another offer to work at another production company, and that made me feel sick about the whole thing, because I was like, is this a sign that this isn't what I'm supposed to be doing? Didn't end up taking that, and Chris and I were really successful in our first year with our production company, and we kind of took off from there. We started specializing in, it started out in corporate video production, but then we really wanted to travel, and we were like, how can we make this into, our dream job? If we want to travel and work at the same time, we need to work for tourism boards. And so we started making all these kind of spec videos, trying to make them go viral online. For, places that were local, for Toronto, for Montreal. And that kind of snowballed. We started doing some work like that, and it wasn't too long. I think it was after our second year of working together, Chris met Peter.
Oh, wow, okay, yeah.
And, he was always friendly with Peter, and they kind of, rekindled their friendship.
Right.
Chris started YouTube, and I'm fast-tracking this whole story.
No, I know. I'm just keeping notes. I'm keeping track.
Chris started YouTube, and as I was trying to support him and learn about this new venture that he was in, I found that there was a huge lack of females in the space, and I was kind of pissed because I'm like,
what's going on?
Where are my girls at?
Yeah,
in this,
exactly.
And I'm sitting here looking for people who are like me, crushing it on this platform, but it's a boys club, and so not that that's a bad thing, and not that they don't deserve it, but there should be equal representation. And so wondering, why is that happening? And it's probably because if you don't see someone you can identify with already doing something, it becomes that much harder for you to want to insert yourself into that career or that hobby or whatever it is.
Yeah, because at the same time, you don't you don't feel that, hey, you know what, I see someone similar, so I therefore can do it too. It's like,
Exactly.
It's just a guy's thing, or something
exactly.
Like that.
It's like, well, am I going to be accepted? Do I fit in? Would they, what do I have in common? Obviously, your shared love of video and photos and that kind of thing.
Of course.
But there is something to be said about having a relationship like a friend who's a girl and a friend who's a guy. There are going to be some things that maybe you have more in common with the girl because you grew up in a similar body. That's just kind of the way it is sometimes.
Exactly.
And so I thought, okay, if that's what I want to see, then I guess I'm going to have to do that.
And be the example yourself.
And be the example myself, not because I thought I was the best or the most qualified or that I wanted the recognition or that I wanted to be, have millions of subscribers. Nothing like that. I just thought, okay, well, I'm kind of, and honestly, it's a little bit of spite. It's like, I'm kind of annoyed that this isn't happening. Right. So just watch, know?
So there was a little bit of, like, you would say, a chip on your shoulder then to really go out there and prove, hey, you know what, I can do it just as good, if not better than the guys. Yeah.
And I think always keeping in mind that whole service attitude as well, that if I'm trying to, like, the whole purpose of it is, I'm trying to prove something a little bit for myself, but at the same time, I want to influence another person or another girl to start whatever it is they want to start. If that's a YouTube channel, if that's their creative business, if that's trying a new hobby, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And starting with that as, your simple goal, if you can just influence that one person, then it makes it all worth it.
Yeah.
And yeah, it has come so much further than I ever thought, to be honest, because I think, my original goal, I think I just decided I was going to upload once a week.
Right. And
just for like a month and just see what happens. And then and I was like, well, I guess I'm not stopping.
Right. So was it necessarily like you were uploading once a week, and then was it the response or was it the views? Like what was what was the reaction that you were getting to be like, okay, you know what, I'm onto something here. I'm connecting with my the women audience that I'm speaking to.
Yeah.
Was it more so that, like, just the connection? You had a lot of people reach out.
I think part of it at first was you're not going to get a huge response with your first video or your first 4 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I think it was, some of the comments were a lot nicer than I thought. I think I expected a lot of negativity
like, what is she doing on that?
Yeah. Or just, no matter what, I was just expecting more negativity online. Okay. And I think it was probably when, I don't know if you watch Atola Visuals, Kitty Peters on YouTube.
I don't, but I've heard of her.
Yeah, so I think it was probably when she reached out to me. I can't remember if it was on Instagram or on YouTube, and she was like, hey, I watch your stuff, and I think it's really good. And I had watched her videos for so long, and I'm like, oh my God, she's reaching out to me.
Out. Yeah.
Yeah, I fangirled a little bit, and and then I was like, oh, people, like, she watched a video that I made.
Right.
So other people must be watching, and if she's excited about seeing another female on the platform, then that's, it was just exciting.
Yeah.
And I think after making those relationships, I think Kitty being the first one, and then meeting Becky and Chris, and the friendships and the experiences that came out of it, not so much anything else really. That was just the most exciting part. And then obviously, people did reach out to me along the way, and
kind of gave you that encouragement.
And gave me some encouragement, and they were excited to see another creator, or they liked my content and excited to see another female creator. And so that obviously it felt good, and I'm going, okay, so I got that one person, but now what else can I do? You know, there's so much more to be done, and I think that's the purpose of the neon sign we have up in the office.
Yeah.
Remember why you started, and so we come into work just trying to remember why we began this whole thing in the first place.
Yeah, it's actually like, just the placement of it too, because you think about it, you come through the door, that's almost like, especially when it's lit, it's the first thing you see. And I don't know if you know about like priming. So basically they do it in like psychology, but if you see something enough times, it just goes right into your subconscious mind, and then you start to like see it more often. So for example, the number 50, if there was a 50 on this glass, then I would go outside and be like, oh, I see a 50 street sign or a 50 address or something like that. So it's kind of perfect, just mentally getting your mind in that space when you see that sign.
Yeah, definitely. I think in advertising, if you see something a certain amount of times, then you finally remember it. I don't remember what.
Yeah, and I think something to do with colors as well, like certain colors and emotions and all that too. That's pretty crazy. But yeah, no, something earlier you said that struck with me was about being accepted in the space, because it was such at the time, it was such male dominated. Did you experience any, you said you were getting a lot of support, but in terms of the male community, did you feel that you were maybe not as accepted at first, and then gradually as you brought your brand up to this level it is now, that they're like, okay, I'm more accepting of you, I like what you're doing and I'm willing to support it on my end type of thing?
It's hard to tell. I don't know if there's a way that I can quantify that to ever be certain. In terms of, all I really know is the feedback that I get in terms of comments or
from
in
your
person.
Audience,
Yeah, and I do receive a lot of positive comments, and my demographic, I believe at this point, is still 80% male.
Okay.
And again, I don't know why. We'd have to go way back and see, analyze so many things. But once in a while, I do get a comment that hurts, because it's nothing about what I said.
Right.
It's about the fact that I'm a woman presenting that information. And that makes somehow me less credible.
Less qualified.
Or less qualified or something like that. Or sometimes more comments about, what I look like. But I know that there are also men in the space who get lots of comments about what they like, their hair looks stupid or whatever. And I think people they're always going to be mean trolls on the internet.
Yeah.
But I think if you look at any field, whether it's on YouTube or whether it's in any occupation whatsoever, I think there are stats to prove that there's a lot of work to be done.
Of course.
For women in general to be seen as, equal players in the workforce.
Yeah.
So I think it kind of goes without saying that, there's still more to be done, but we have come a long way at the same time.
Exactly. No, 100%. It's true. Like, I mean, even the fact now that it's like some of the top even YouTubers in your space are women now, and which is crazy to think about it, because like 5 years ago, if you were to say, oh, I'm going to be the top earning woman on YouTube, you'd be like, oh, what are you talking about? There's no woman on YouTube, right? Which is crazy. But I want to bring it back to your audience, because obviously, YouTube, social, you have a lot of young women, young girls that look up to you. So is there any pressure that you put on yourself to maybe like, put out the proper content that is really going to help them, or just how do you maintain connecting with them while also making sure that you're putting out like positive messages and being like a positive role model in a way?
Yeah. I think I'm still working on what that line is too. I think probably it is a little bit confusing at times, especially when when I'm looking at my demographic and I know it's 80% male and 20% female.
Exactly.
So does that mean I have to operate as 80% male and 20% female? I don't think so.
No.
But I also don't want to present any information that's going to turn someone off or make them feel like they can't identify with me. And as a character or as a persona on a channel that I've created, it is a factor, right? In how I present myself and likability and things like that. If you don't like someone, you're not going to watch them.
Exactly, yeah.
So it's something I think about, and I wish I didn't have to.
Yeah.
Which is, I think some people would say is a little bit sad that I have to go, okay, can I be this feminine, or can I be this masculine?
You're almost like, because it's like, it's yourself. You have to be yourself at the end of the day, right?
And that's what it comes down to is if something feels authentic to me and that's what I would say or that's what I would do, then sometimes I just do it and I try not to think so much about it anymore. And same thing, you can look at like my YouTube backdrop versus Chris's if you want. They look different because we're different.
Of course.
And I don't think one inherently looks like, well, if you want to say one's more feminine and more masculine than the other, like you might be able to. I do have more like plants and things like that. But that's also me. Like that whole like greenery vibe, that's a style that I like, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. So I didn't want to make my YouTube backdrop like everybody else's on YouTube.
Yeah.
I wanted you to be able to turn it on and know it's mine. But at the same time, I've got camera things, photos, globes, lenses, you know, things that are all that vibe. You. It's very me. And so I'm just trying to be myself, you know, at the end of it. But yeah, there is a little bit of pressure in when you're talking about females who are watching me and is there more pressure I put on myself?
Yeah.
Sure, because I don't want anyone to look at me and then generalize my entire sex based on something I do or don't do. And so, like, if you take our Riker campaign, I'm not sure if you looked at it. Chris and I both did a campaign with Can-Am. And when we went to do the driving test and to learn how to drive them, I felt this pressure. I'm like, I have to be good at it.
Like you have to perform when you're driving. I have
to perform well. I can't give in to like the whole thing that maybe, you know, Chris is going to be inherently better at this than me. I not only have to be as good as him, but I have to be better. And that's maybe something I just do to myself.
Yeah.
And then sure enough, we did. We were with Alan Palander actually too.
Yeah. Okay.
So it was the three of us. And then we all did our driving test and I scored the best out of all three of us.
There you go. Yeah, there you go.
And like, maybe it's because I put that pressure and I'm like, I have to be good at this.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that too is just believing that you can do a good job and then just being like, I have to do the best I can and that's all.
Are you
otherwise you'll kill yourself trying?
Yeah, exactly. I'm wondering if that like do you feel that you're like that in terms of like other aspects? Because I feel like even for me, even when it's something simple as, okay, we'll take riding a bike, for example.
Yeah.
It's like I put so much pressure on myself to be like, oh, you know, because people are watching. It's like, oh, I gotta perform it well. I gotta do a good job. So that so-and-so is not gonna be able to take a jab at me afterwards and be like, oh, like, why did you, like, you fell like straight on your face, like, type of thing. So do you feel that that's where that kind of like, I guess like pressure comes from, is like making sure that no one else can say anything
I think so.
after the
fact?
fact?
Worrying about being criticized for it later. I think so. And probably, I mean, my dad was always really tough on me, and he was always the kind of person that was like, you don't try, you do it.
Right. There's no trying. It's like you either do it or you don't.
You do it or you don't, and don't not do it. You're gonna do it, and there is no other option.
Yeah.
And so growing up that way it really affects how your brain works
of course.
and how
100%.
you treat every problem that you come across. But I think, I'm always just trying to, like, if there's any opportunity where there is a comparison, it probably plays a little bit of a mind game with me. And I'm like, I have to be good at this now.
Yeah.
I have to be the best. Or like, I have to be as good as I can. And I think a lot of people on YouTube are probably like that too.
Of course.
There's
and
a
in
lot
other
of
professions
comparison.
Too.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Now, strictly in terms of, your audience and other female creatives as well, I know you did do spoke about one tip about just being yourself, being authentic. But for our audience, like if there's any women creatives right now who want to, getting started on YouTube, take it to the next level, what are maybe a few tips that you could just share from your experience that really help in terms of, making their content resonate with people?
First of all, in getting over the hump of starting anything, I think that, and based on what I've read in my own experience, what women tend to do most often is we overthink and we feel like we have to be 90% qualified to do something before we actually go ahead and do it.
Right.
And that isn't really the right approach at all. It is okay to start and to figure it out as you go along, and it is okay not to be perfect. There is a whole, perfectionist mind game, I think, that happens when starting anything, especially something that's so public.
Of course,
that everyone can watch you fail at.
And go back and watch it too.
And go back, and then watch your first one. Yeah, people can go watch my early videos and like, it's still there. It sucks for me, but it's still there. And you just have to not care at a certain point.
And accept that as well.
In terms of differentiating your content, it's hard not it's hard to not want to conform and see, oh, okay, everyone's doing lens reviews a certain way, sitting down, holding it, the format, and even the topic itself. I think it's hard not to want to do the same thing and then be like, oh, okay, how can I do that topic a little bit better? You can take that approach. But what I believe that YouTube needs more of, and if I could start a channel over from the top, is something completely different and something that you love right from the get-go, and something that maybe you're presenting differently than everyone else is. Like, go in with a completely new subject, with a completely new format, something super niche and crazy, and you're going to think, oh my God, who's going to watch this because it's so weird and there's nothing else like this? But that's exactly it. There's nothing else like it.
Yeah, which will make you stand out even more.
Which will make you stand out. And there's nothing wrong. Whatever, the worst case scenario doesn't do well or nobody likes it, and you can start another one. Like, it doesn't, life's long. You know, you only get to a certain point you only get to a successful point in your life by making a whole bunch of mistakes and trying and failing over again and learning from those mistakes. And I think the same thing comes from like taking a risk and doing something differently. And that's something that I wish I knew earlier on, because I felt so much pressure to, okay, I have to make something that performs well. And maybe that's how I did grow pretty quickly. But now I wish, oh man, I think I could have taken more risks then, and maybe now I would have gone a bit further or had a few things that I feel are more uniquely me in terms of my content. But that's something I'm working on now. And then figuring it out, okay, how do I not get so influenced by what performs well and what everyone else is doing, and what can I do that's just so outside the box? So yeah, just be yourself and don't be afraid to be different.
Okay, that actually segues perfectly. No, because I feel like with your channel as well as with Chris's, obviously you guys have the creative aspect, but there's a very noticeable business element to it.
Yeah.
So, which is great, because it, a lot of the time, even for myself, I'll just YouTube like how to do this or what to charge for that, and it just it helps just with understanding. So, a lot of young creatives, even ourselves or myself as well, we struggle with the question of, okay, how much should I charge my services, or like what is my time and my skill set worth? So for the the women out there, the males out there, the whole YouTube universe and the creatives in general, what advice from your experience would you give them in terms of accurately like being like, hey, you know what, this is what I charge because of X, Y, and Z, and it's somewhat justifiable in a sense?
I just want to make sure I understand your question.
Yeah.
So in terms of pricing?
Like pricing, because like at least the creatives in our community that we've talked to, it's like a lot of them are on YouTube, but they also have side businesses when it comes to either freelance or they have their own creative agency.
Yeah.
And they're struggling with, how do I to a client, how do I justify my skill set in terms of price?
Right.
And so I just wanted, from your experience, because you have experience with your agency and doing that, so do you have any advice in terms of, that sense?
Right. I think when it is hard to approach a client, especially who doesn't have a lot of experience in hiring a creative, to approach them with a certain price point that may just right off the bat confuse them entirely. And I think people run into that a lot with weddings.
Oh, yeah.
That would be my perfect example, because you're taking two people who have never hired a photographer or videographer, and now they have to probably pay for like one of the most expensive like creative projects in their life. On the most important day of their life, and there's a lot of pressure. What I would suggest, and I think made a big difference in my business with Chris, is there's an education side of what you do that I think a lot of creatives kind of dismiss. They think I should just be able to send an estimate and they should just accept it, and why don't they get it? Yeah. And obviously my work is fantastic. Like, how could they ever say that it's not worth that? Right. Because these people don't understand what goes into that process. They've never done it. So part of that, sending, you're producing that quote and sending that estimate is not just doing your due diligence to make sure you're not pulling numbers straight out of the air that don't make any sense. Yeah. You have to have some kind of formula involved, and that's like what Chris and I are trying to educate people on. a formula involved. Like, you should have a rate sheet in your pricing built into a budget. But making sure that's clear in your paperwork that you're giving to your client, what's included, how many days, how many revisions. In that video, you know, what gear are you using? What are you bringing out on set? What do you need insurance? Because obviously that should also go into your budget. Color correction. And if they have any questions, then don't be afraid to explain it to them, and don't be offended that you have to explain it to them either, because they have no idea. And when you lay everything out like that and you itemize it that way, it looks like a lot of stuff. And for someone who's never done this before, even just reading all of those things, they go, wow, it looks like they're doing a lot. You know, and even a surface level approach, it looks like that's a lot of stuff that they're doing for me. Wow, that cost must make sense. And if they don't understand, then maybe you need to break it up further and tell them, you know, it just don't forget about the
trial and error, like experimenting.
Yeah, don't forget that you have to kind of give them a bit of background as to why things cost that way. But it is an ongoing struggle for creatives, I think, and to be able to provide a living for themselves when their clients don't understand why things cost the way that they cost. And the background of that is the background of having, you know, a successful business and having great work is all of the time you spent learning that craft. And now it only takes you 5 minutes to edit that photo or whatever it is. And you can do it pretty quickly because you build presets. But there's all of this stuff in the background, gear you've invested in, time you spent learning it, practice, and now you just have this intuition to take a great photo. Charge for that. That's important to factor in. And that's why if you take a very niche artistic style of photography, or you have whatever your thing is, that's why it costs that much, because they're paying for the convenience of you being great at your job.
Yeah, being able to like look at that angle, look at that, and be like, oh, I think looks good, shoot it that way, and it's like done in 2 seconds.
Yeah, it takes 2 seconds, but that's because you've honed your craft, and you know, if you look at an artist, for example, an artist in terms of like, say, a painter. A painter.
Okay.
You would never look at that and say, wow, did you just learn how to do that right now?
Yeah, exactly.
How amazing for you. You know what I mean? And I think it's frustrating because that's sometimes how people look at photography. They think, oh, if you have an expensive camera, you must be a great photographer.
You automatically know how to use it.
Yeah. One question someone asked me when I told them I was a photographer once, they said, how many cameras do you have?
Oh, really?
And I was like, does that matter?
Do I gotta have like 16 cameras?
Do I have to have like 20 cameras to be a photographer? That doesn't make any sense.
Exactly.
And so people have this, it just shows that they have this warped understanding of like what makes you good at your job. And so you just have to be okay with explaining it. Yeah.
No, I agree with that 100%. And I can relate to that as well, because we've pretty much gone through the same thing as well with our creative agency. So it resonates, you know?
Yeah.
Definitely when you said,
frustrating.
Yeah, definitely a lot of trial and error, a lot of like, oh, why did we do that? You know, but it's worth it in the end, 100%.
Yeah.
So also another thing that relates to, because, you know, your creative agency, I want to spend a little bit more time on that. Have you found that, you know, building your personal brand on YouTube, Chris as well, because he's involved, has that helped you guys now with your company in terms of getting clients, or just walking into a room and people respecting you like that because of the personal brand that you guys have built? I
think that was definitely our approach on YouTube initially, was we thought, okay, that's our differentiators. We have this, you know, this business and it's successful, and I feel like everyone on YouTube is trying to get this, so let's give them the business side of that. It's like, okay, you're taking great photos or you're shooting great video, and you have some clients. Let's show you how to build a company and how to make a living and expand your business and help you make more money, you know?
Exactly.
And here are a few easy things that you can implement by doing that. Sorry, what was the first part of your question? No,
the first part was like, you know, have you found that, you know, building your personal brand has helped you get clients or just be more respected when you go into these rooms?
I think, when we originally started, I don't think we saw how much the two were going to end up coinciding. I think we thought, okay, we'll take our info from the creative business and we'll feed it into YouTube. I don't think we ever thought that YouTube would end up providing a lot of opportunities for different styles of clients.
Okay.
And so now our business that was primarily corporate video is now primarily travel.
Okay, yeah.
And so now it's pretty much exclusively tourism.
Tourism and travel.
Yeah, and And during COVID, I think that's why we did
That's
okay.
Yeah,
we did okay because of the YouTube side of things, and because we expanded our business. But if we just had know-how during COVID, things would have been
more
very
stressful.
different. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, is that something that you would recommend then as someone who has a creative agency try to build their personal brand, or do you think that the success that you guys have achieved, that's just attainable by just doing the creative agency or just doing the YouTube sides of the equation?
I would say if you're a creative, just expand.
Yeah.
I would have your hands in a lot of different pots. What's the expression? I don't know.
Yeah.
But I would, in terms of your clients, in terms of the style of work you do, if you are in tourism, you'll find that you're usually traveling in spring or winter, spring, summer, and then winter. Not really going anywhere in the fall very often because, I don't know, no one really seems to want to feature fall. It's only like the 2 times a year that everyone seems to want you to travel. But what are you doing in the spring and what are you doing in the fall? You could be shooting cars. You could have, you want to diversify your clients and your income. So whether there's a certain amount of time you can be on set and there's a finite amount of time that you can be on set. So what are some passive ways that you can generate income? And I think that's kind of what we've done with a lot of our digital products and presets and things like that. And we're working on developing courses and scaling our business in ways that we wouldn't be able to because I can only be in so many places at one time.
And you can only do so many things at the same time.
You can only do so many things. And especially if COVID's taught us anything is that you need to have a backup plan.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's one positive thing that's come out of COVID because it's like, even for us now, you see a lot of people trying to go the e-commerce route, the more, shopping online type of thing and just quick things where it doesn't require like, there's still service based, but it's not like, I have to be at this location, have to set everything up, have to be more in contact with people in order to get paid at the end of the day.
Definitely. Yeah. And I think when COVID was happening, there was this big misconception is that, all money has stopped moving.
Right.
And now you cannot sell anything. But did we not notice how many things went on sale because of COVID? And you know what happened? People bought stuff.
Exactly, yeah.
Including presets, including whatever clothing, or it was kind of like, we're recognizing that things are hard, but here, let me give it to you at a discount. So people kept spending money. A lot of businesses shifted the way that they operate because of that. And now they're like, I think it's David's Tea is primarily online. And then I think it's sold in like a few grocery stores now. You can change the way that your business operates to account for all of those things. So it's not really having like a rainy day plan or a rainy day fund. It's kind of like if you want to, it's scaling and diversifying what you do. And part of that is, definitely make sure you have an online portion of your business in some way would be my biggest advice because like we mentioned, physically you can only be in so many places at one time. And with physical products, you have to have a warehouse, you have to store them, there's fulfillment, all these other costs that you have to factor in. But what else can you sell that is, maybe it's a physical product or maybe it's information. Maybe it's teaching someone something that they didn't have before. How can you expand? Yeah.
And at the same time, I feel like, especially with this pandemic, it's really it's challenged a lot of people to get creative, kind of think outside the box because it's like we're thrown into this situation where it's like, okay, we can't operate how we've normally been operated. So it kind of throws that curveball. It's like, okay, now it's time for us to adapt and kind of level up in a new way, right? So has there been anything either on the business end or the creative end that this pandemic has kind of taught you or you've realized about yourself? Like it was always in you, but maybe this was the time that it got brought out.
I think I keep starting my answers with I think. I just noticed. I'm like, I think that we were on such a roll before all of this happened, and we'd just gone on like 3 really big trips. We did this huge trip in like late August, September, through Germany and through Europe, and then in November we went to the Philippines, and then in January we were like in Canada, just like in Manitoba, and we also went to Switzerland, and like we were just on a high. I think we're like, life's so great, everything's happening. Look, and then we got our cat Luna, and we're like, everything's fantastic, you know, and like financially we're doing great. And then when everything comes back to the tiny world that is your home and your apartment, you're reevaluating everything.
Yeah.
And especially what really matters. And I think we found out that it's who you're with, for sure.
100%.
The simple things. But at the same time, when you're working so much, and especially Chris and I have had so much growth in our businesses, financially you get really excited by what's happening. And then when certain things, like all of our travel was kind of cut out of our finances, obviously we're still fine, but you kind of realize, okay, what is the amount of money that I actually need here, and what's going to make me happy to live out the rest of my life? What do I actually need? And I think I read a article recently that I think it's when you surpass like $75,000 or something.
I think I read the exact same article.
Yeah, I think it's Harvard or something.
Something like that. Yeah.
When you surpass $75,000, like your happiness doesn't really increase.
No, because it's like financially, like all your needs have been met. So so just biologically, once your needs have been met based on like the hierarchy of needs and all that, everything else is just like extra and quote unquote like unnecessary, if you want to put the word to it. But, you know.
So when you're faced with, okay, I don't know what is going to happen this year, especially financially, but what am I going to feel like if I don't make the same amount of money as I did last year?
Yeah.
And how is that going to affect my life? And like, will I still be happy? What if I can't travel at all this year? That was such a big part of my life. Will I still be happy? And like asking yourself those questions, and what is it I truly need? And so I ended up making a short film about it, because I started to like get so absorbed and like, oh my God, but so if I don't have all these things that I thought were making my life great, and I mean, money is obviously on that hierarchy of needs.
Of course.
Will I still be okay? You know? And obviously the answer is yes when you come back to it. You only need, like, we found so much joy. Like, we were so lucky we got our cat when we did.
Yeah.
Because, we had our little, like, quarantine kitten, and, like, seeing her, like, go from this little tiny, like, scrawny, runty thing, into, like, now she's a teenager sitting over there snoozing. Aww. But, she's been, like, so fun, and, like, honestly reminds us just to stop working and just to, like, play. And
reminds you of more of, like, the things that are important in life, and just slow down and all that. Awesome. Now, I guess next one I want to ask you is, I feel like for everybody, whether it be their significant other, their parents, they always have someone or a group of people that inspires them, or is just there for them, supports them. So who's that person or those people in your life that, when you're going through a tough time, or, you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel, that, those people, or that person is going to be there for you and supports you? And then what do they mean to you just on an emotional level?
Obviously Chris is going to be my first one.
Of course, yeah.
Because he's probably the only person that he sees me every single day. We work together, we live together, we run businesses coinciding with each other and together. So he gets it 100%. And so when I need to confess something that no one else would understand, and like 90% of my problems are usually about work. So when I want to come to him and say, oh, I'm so overwhelmed about this and I don't know what to do, he's always really good at making me feel better, or helping me overcome it, which is normally what I want. Like, I'm not the type of person that wants to be, like, consoled very often.
Okay.
I'm more like, okay, how do I
fix this?
How do I fix this, beat it, do better? Just get through it.
Yeah.
And he's been, great. I don't know what I would do without him. And I think we rely on each other so much in our lives and in our businesses that we both, like, can't even, our offices together, like, I can't even fathom what we would do. And my mom is obviously great at distracting me when I just don't want to.
Need a break.
I need a break, and I just want to get away, and, like, I'll go to her house or go to the cottage, or when I'm sick or something, I go to her. Another really great community has been my certain friends I've made through YouTube, and because we can kind of understand each other and what we're going through. And Becky from Becky and Chris and Iz Harris. We haven't done one in a while, but we did these, like, masterminds where we would get together once a month, and we would talk about certain things that are going on in our business or in our personal lives, and we could just vent. And then the other two would have the opportunity to give us feedback or input.
I like that. That's cool.
It was really, really nice.
Yeah.
And yeah, we kind of fell off it. Like, we were really good at doing them during COVID, and then now things got busy again.
It got crazy. Everything's kind of opening up. Yeah,
but it's so helpful to have a group of friends outside, I think, of like your family or your significant other that you can go to that are removed from your home situation.
Exactly.
Because one thing that Chris and I guess, suffer from is like we obviously get compared a lot. And that's hard to talk about to the other one when if someone saw something like a photo that Chris did and they like his more than mine, or when we were at Buffer and I won an award for my film but his didn't, you know, those are things that are hard to talk about with each other, but I can always go to like my YouTube friends who get it.
Yeah, exactly. No, 100%. So for the people out there who want to check out more of your content, they want to get connected with you, just follow your journey, you know, as you continue to progress. Where's the best place for them to check you out at?
YouTube, Instagram, Twitter. Okay. It's just my name, Lizzie Peirce, but it's P-E-I-R-C-E.
There we go.
It's a hard
Unconventional way.
Unconventional way,
I like it.
But if you just Google it, you'll find it,
Okay. And guys, we'll make sure to leave all the links and stuff for that in the description box. You guys easy access to all that information. So I wanted to end off here with a little rapid fire question game, if you're cool. Yeah, I sent that out to you. So you ready to go?
I'm ready.
Okay, so I know you're known to do a lot of voiceovers in your videos. If you had to choose one person to do your voiceovers for the rest of your career, who would you choose?
That's so hard. Oh my God, I'm trying to think of someone who I feel like has an epic voice.
I feel like Oprah has an epic voice.
She does.
Or like a recognizable voice.
Yeah. Oh, I can pick anyone, right?
You can pick anyone.
Dua Lipa.
Oh, Dua Lipa. Okay,
Dua
interesting.
Lipa.
Are you a fan of her as well?
I am.
Okay.
Her talking voice and her singing voice, all of her voices.
Yeah, it's
so
like majestic.
Good. Yeah.
Okay, so what's your favorite part about making YouTube videos?
Posting.
Okay.
When it's done.
And the stress is gone.
It's over.
Yeah. So second last one, do you prefer shooting photo or video more, or you like both equally?
Probably photos.
Photos?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there a reason why?
I don't know. There's something really cathartic about editing and then being able to frame it and then put it up on your wall in your home.
Yeah.
I
and
just
see it
love
as
that.
you walk by.
And see it when you walk by. It just feels very official. Yeah, photos.
Okay. Last one. So what actress would you want to play yourself in either a movie or a television show if you could pick?
Who I would want to play me?
Yeah.
Oh, Jennifer Lawrence.
Jennifer, okay,
She's
I could see that.
I like her. Yeah.
And especially when I think for a couple movies she dyed her hair blonde, I could see kind of like
she was blonde. Yeah.
Yeah, she would work well. Awesome. Well, Lizzie, thank you for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. Guys at home, thank you for tuning in. Like I said before, make sure to leave Lizzie's social links in the description box below, as well as our own as well. And yeah, thank you guys, and we'll catch you guys soon. Awesome. Thank you. Oh yeah, we could do the double 5. There you go.
Yeah.